Hi everybody, it's Cathryn from In the Pink Designs. Sorry I didn't have a video yesterday because it was my birthday and I didn't want to have to do one on Monday. I'm going to try to get 3 out this week, so the videos will probably be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay, so my project today is I'm thinking of it as a Mother's Day box. Now this here, I changed it up a little bit from the Stampin' Up design team. They had one similar to this, but it wasn't in the bright kind of colors around it. So I decided I wanted to make it a little bit more soft and bright for Mother's Day. It measures 3.5 by 5 by 1. And inside I have, along with a gift card, now a gift card to wherever your mom likes would be great, or to dinner or something like that. I also have a 1, 2, 3 step mani in a box. Now this is the actual box. It came with 6. It came with 3 that are vitamin recharge and a 3-step that is green tea detox. It's from a company called Voesh, Voesh, and they're around $10 for the box. I liked it because it has everything for a manicure. It has a sugar scrub, then a mask, and then a massage butter. Alright, you could also put a spa gift certificate in there if you wanted to, and this would help keep it up after she did it. Alright, so that's what I have inside, but again, you can put whatever you want to inside. And the gift card I have for in there. Again, I used the Lighting the Way stamp set and Lighting the Way dies, along with, for the flowers, I used the Petal Park stamp set and Petal Park Builder Punch. The paper is the new Bright and Beautiful DSP, which comes out on May 2nd. Alright, so what we need for this project is some basic white for stamping. We need a piece of Crumb cake cardstock that is 9.5 by 7 3/4. We need 6 pieces of the Bright and Beautiful DSP, and this has the bubble bath on it. 2 that are 3.5 by 4 3/4, 2 that are 4 3/4 by 3/4, and 2 that are 3.5 by 3/4. Right. I also need a piece of bubble bath cardstock for the sentiment. I cut a square that is about 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 from the rectangle stitched dies, and then I used the Timber Embossing Folder on it. I don't know if you can see for the background behind. So that's what I did for that. I cut out the lantern from the Lighting the Way dies out of old olive, and then I used a piece of, I just put this down on some vellum and I traced with a pencil on the outside, and you want to add a little bit on the top and a little bit on the bottom of the vellum to attach it. But that's how I just cut right inside the pencil lines, and then it was perfect to attach. Alright. Okay, so this is my host code. Please put that in for any purchases of under $150. I would appreciate that. Alright, so we're going to start with our cardstock and my Simply Scored. And we'll begin with the 9.5 inch side, and we're going to score at 1, 4.5, 5.5, and 9. Then we're going to turn it to the 7 3/4 inch side, and we're going to score at 1, 6, and 7. Alright, and that's it. Okay, now I'm just going to fold and burnish all of the score lines. so I have the skinniest rectangle on the right hand side. There's a 3/4 inch strip at the top and 1 inch is on the left and the bottom. And this is what we're going to be doing. Okay, so we're going to start on the bottom left. We're going to go to the first score line and cut it to the first score line and wedge each side of the square. Go to the next score line, cut it to the first score line, next score line, cut it to the first score line, and wedge each side of the square. Okay, we're going to go to the next score line, cut it to the first score line, and wedge up into that skinny rectangle. Okay, now we're going to flip it to the other side, and we're going to go to the first score line, cut it to the second score line, and wedge up into the skinny rectangle. We're going to go to the next score line, cut it to the second score line, and get rid of these 2 rectangles. And I take the score line with it so that it's nice and smooth. Okay, go to the next score line, cut it to the second score line, get rid of this rectangle on the bottom, and wedge each side of the square. Okay, now go to the next score line, cut it to the second score line, get rid of this rectangle on the bottom, and wedge each side of the square. Okay, now we're going to get a corner rounder, and the skinniest rectangle's over here. So this top flap over here, we're going to round the corners on both of those long sides here. Okay, and this is what your cardstock should look like after you're done scoring and cutting. Alright, I'm going to get my tear and tape, and I'm going to put it on what's left of the skinny rectangle here next to the score line. I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool to take the backing off, and I'm going to flip over the whole thing, flip over the side with the tape and the other side to meet it. Now this is our back here, so we're going to put the sides in and then put a little bit of glue on the tabs. We're going to pull the back flap in and then put some glue on the back of the front flap. And just make sure all of the sides are even. Okay, now we're going to put our DSP on. Now in the beginning I said that this was 3.5 by 4 3/4. It's 3 1/4 by 4 3/4. All right, so make sure that you don't cut your DSP before, but you just have to cut off a little more. All right, so 3 1/4 by 4 3/4, 2 of them for the front and the back. For the long sides, 4 3/4 by 3/4, and from the short sides, 3/4 by 3 1/4. Okay, and liquid glue for all of it. All right, now I'm going to get a small circle punch, and I'm just going to cut a little finger grip right in the middle so that when you close it, it's easier to open. All right, now let's let that dry, and we're going to do some stamping. So I'm going to get my basic white. First, we're going to use old Olive Cardstock, and we need a piece of scrap for this. All right, so first let's do these leaves, and I just want them a little bit softer than the old olive. So I'm going to stamp it off once and stamp. Now, if you still have Pear Pizzazz, which was retired, you could use the Pear Pizzazz for cardstock to cut out the lantern and for the leaves if you want, and it would be a little bit softer. So for this one, I'm going to stamp off, And then I'm just going to stamp it right on there. Okay, and then we need the little light, it's the medium-sized lightning bug, and I'm going to stamp off that too. Great. All right. We also need, with the old olive, I am going to stamp "Thanks for lighting the way," which I think is so cute for Mother's Day. And I'm just going to put that, I'm going to try to get it straight, but I'm not great at making cling stamp sentiment straight. But that's not too bad, and we'll figure that out later with the cutting. All right, I'm going to cut out these leaves, and I'll be right back. All right, so there's our lightning bug and the 2 sets of leaves. All right, so I'm going to do the outline first with Bubble Bath of the 3 flowers. We're just going to use the 2 bigger ones. All right, and then we'll do the inside with Stamping Off. Just stamp it off once lightly, and then we're just going to match it up. Okay, and now I'm going to get the Petal Park Builder Punch, and we're going to cut these 3 flowers out. Okay, now what I'm going to do first is I'm going to attach the vellum. So that little piece I cut out, remember, leave a little bit on the top and the bottom. And then with just what's left on my, don't squeeze it, just a little bit of glue that's left on the tip, just go on those crossbars. And then you want to put this down just like that, and make sure it's right in the front. Needs a little bit there and over a little there. Perfect. All right, and I can see I missed a tiny bit right there, so I'm just gonna clip that off. So oops, don't get the whole thing. Okay. All right, so now that's done. All right, and what we're gonna do is put the lantern on first, and I'm going to cut some sides really skinny, no more than 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to take a strip off of the one side of it. Okay, and I'm going to put it down both sides of the side of the lantern. They're so thin I can just pull it. All right. And then I'm going to put some regular dimensionals, 2 on the bottom here. Oops. I'm going to make sure I get one right on the vellum that's above and below what we'll show, and then one more up here. All right, now I'm just going to take all the backings off. Okay. All right, now before we put that on, make sure you're on the front of your box. We're going to attach this square that is about 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. Remember, I emboss it with the Timber Embossing Folder, which is this one. And I'm going to glue it about, just so that these 3 sides are even. All right. It's probably about, it's between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch on each of the 3 sides. But I'm just going to eyeball it and see that it has about the same all around. Okay, then we're going to take our lantern, and I'm going to let just the top half of the lantern circle there show off the top, and it kind of hangs off the right a little bit too. And I'm just going to put all of that on. Okay. Now we want to put the one that has the two big leaves about like that, and we're going to have one of them attaching to the side of the lantern at the top. So what I want is a mini dimensional here and here. Now you could really just glue everything flat if you want. You don't have to do it how I'm doing it, but I'm putting a mini dimensional on the outer leaf, two of them. Okay, take the backings off, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue in the middle of the other flower and down here. All right, and then we're going to place it. The tail is going to poke underneath the lantern at the edge. Okay. All right, and now for the other with all the leaves. We're going to be cutting this off, but we won't worry about that now. What we want to do first is put this smaller flower right up over here, and I'm going to use dimensionals for that. A dimensional, let's say, right in the middle. And I'm going to put that flower up over here, right like that. And then we're going to put this piece of leaves, and they're going to go just like this. All right. So the only place we really can put a dimensional or a piece of dimensional is right at the top V here. So I'm just going to do a piece of side. Oh, I have a piece here. I'll put right in this top V here. Okay, and then I'm just going to put, don't glue all the way to the bottom because we're going to cut some of that off. And then I'm going to lay it just like this, maybe a little bit higher. And if you need to add any glue, just lift it up just a little and put a little bit of glue where you need it. And poke it right back down. All right. And for the bottom, we kind of want to cut this at a slant about, I'd say, 1/4 inch from the bottom of the lantern. Okay, now we're going to put the other flower on right here. I'm just going to glue this kind of right here, just like that. And you can get pictures of this on my blog, which I will link below, along with all the measurements. All right, and then we're going to put the lightning bug on with a dimensional. And I'm going to put that right here. All right, so then we need our sentiment. I'm going to cut it about 1/2 inch from the end of the sentiment, and not that long from the right before the T. Okay. And then I'm just going to leave a little space on the top and the bottom. And then at the end, I'm going to cut a slant to the top. And then I'm just going to attach this right below the piece of greenery that reaches down. Okay. Now for the top, they did this and I thought it was so cute. They put linen thread through the top of the lantern and tied a bow with long tails, and I really liked it. You don't have to, or you could just attach one. You don't have to tie it around it if you don't want to. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut it. And I'm going to put a little dab of glue behind the knot, just so that it keeps it from going up too much. And just hold that for a minute. Okay. Now for the final touch, I'm going to use some of the solid gems in the Lemon Lolly and the sticky side of my Take Your Pick tool. I'm going to put a large one in the large flower, a small one in the small flower, and then a medium one over the sentiment. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. I just think it's such a pretty, you could do this without the flowers for Father's Day or for a masculine box. I just think it's really pretty. All right, if you have any questions, my email is below, along with the link to my shop for purchasing any Stampin' Up! Items, and the link to my blog that has all the measurements and directions. All right, have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.